Welcome! Today we are going to be making about 100 freezer meals, but the important thing for you to know is that you can do this too. You can save yourself time, money, and most importantly, that ever-present mental load, because you don't have to worry about what to make for dinner every day if you've already got your freezer stacked with meals. So we are going to show you step by step exactly how we do this. When we do this, one of the important things that can save you a lot of time is to work with one protein at a time. So today we're going to start with
chicken.
We're going to do all of our raw chicken recipes first. That way we can get them out of our fridges into our freezers. We can make space in the fridges because they are kind of bursting at the seams.
Our fridges are very full right now, and I don't know about your fridge. My fridge smells like onions because I chopped all the onions and stored them overnight. All of our prep is ready. So today we are just assembling. It is so much easier when it is all ready to go. We're just gonna throw it in the bags, get it into our freezer, and on to the next.
So if you're keeping track, we've already given you 2 tips on how to save time and do this faster. One is to work with one protein at a time. The second is to do your prep the day before. So with these chicken recipes, we're gonna get right into our first one, which is our Mediterranean chicken sheet pan. Amazing flavors, so easy, and an all-in-one dinner. So into our large freezer bag, we're gonna add our boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Actually, Christy already went ahead and trimmed those and put them into bags last night as part of her prep. So those are already in the bag. We're gonna add to that some purple onion cut in chunks, some sun-dried tomato and oregano salad dressing, minced garlic. We use our garlic from a jar because then part of the work's already done. Some Greek seasoning, some dried mint, lemon juice, capers, and pitted Kalamata olives. We're gonna squish all those ingredients together right there in the bag so that we don't have to dirty a bowl. Then we're going to get as much air as we possibly can out of there because when you're freezer cooking, air can cause freezer burn. Then we're gonna seal it and get it into our freezer. On the day we go to make this, we thaw it, and we're gonna just dump the contents of that bag onto a sheet pan that's lined with parchment paper, and we're gonna add some baby tomatoes. So it's gonna be so bright and fresh, healthy and beautiful. And then at the end, we're gonna top it with some crumbled feta cheese and put it back in the oven, broil that cheese a little bit just to crisp everything up and caramelize things. And then you can serve this with some rice or some couscous or a Greek salad. It makes such an amazing dinner.
This classic recipe is chicken hurry. We've made it a million times. We're gonna start out with our chicken in the bag. We're going to add in ketchup, water, brown sugar, and dry onion mix. We're going to mix it around in the bag, seal it up, and then freeze it. This one cooks up lovely in the oven. It goes great in the skillet. You can barbecue it, and believe it or not, it actually makes really good leftovers into soup, which is funny because it's quite sweet and, you know, it isn't something that you would think of, but Charlotte has done it. I have eaten it. It is really good. It's really great to have this in your freezer. Great variety with it, and the kids will love it. Super family friendly.
One of the other things that we've found that saves a lot of time, we kind of discovered it by accident because one session I just hadn't put my groceries fully away.
Right, and it was just because there was a lot and it was busy, and probably your pantry was already pretty full.
Probably.
And having everything out just makes everything so much faster, so much easier.
And so this time we purposely emptied the groceries onto the counter so that we've got everything completely ready to go. Now there are some things that we're gonna have to search the pantries for because they're things I already had and didn't have to go on my grocery list. But for the most part, just having these things here and ready is gonna make it so much easier.
Gingery salsa chicken. Into your bag, you'll add your boneless, skinless chicken thighs, some salsa, some honey, orange juice, soy sauce, Dijon mustard, some fresh minced ginger, and a bit of olive oil. Mix it around in the bag and seal it up and freeze it. When you go to cook this, it is a great one to do just in the oven, but then you reserve the sauce from it, and then you cook that in the stovetop, and you are going to add in some cornstarch and thicken it up a little bit. and then put that sauce back on the chicken when you go to serve it. This is fantastic. Great flavors that you wouldn't normally put together, and again, super family friendly.
As you can see, we are in the middle of assembling things. When you see our overheads, you're just gonna see one bag because we've discovered we used to film like all 4 bags that we do at a time. Then we discovered that it's really hard for you to see what we're putting in the bags if we do it that way. So maybe you can see that Christy's got like the one that's being filmed.
The showcase.
Exactly.
The B-roll.
And then the 3 here that she's adding the same ingredients into. So it's super fast because it's like you add it into there and then boom, boom, boom. But we are underway with that. And I'm about to get started on another recipe. So I thought I would show you another part of our system, which is that it saves time if you get all your ingredients out before you get started. Christy's got all of hers. So I'm doing Moroccan style chicken next. So I need to get the sliced onion, which is prepped, but it's in the fridge. So I'm gonna grab that. I need manzanilla olives, some dates. Those are also chopped already. So the prep is done, but I'm gonna go and I'm gonna grab all the ingredients and I'm gonna take it to my station. That way I'm not running back and forth and back and forth. And it just saves you even more time. We have had this jar of capers for a little bit now. It is giant jar of capers.
But today's the day.
We're gonna empty this sucker today. So for that Moroccan style chicken, you're gonna have your chicken thighs, then you're gonna add in sliced onion, some manzanillo olives that are pitted and sliced. We were able to buy them sliced, thankfully. Then you're gonna add in some pitted and chopped dates, minced ginger, we use ours from a squeezy tube, some cumin, coriander, red pepper flakes, cinnamon, basil, salt and pepper, chicken broth, and lemon juice. We're gonna squish everything together in the bag to combine it, seal it, and freeze it. You can cook this one in a baking dish in the oven, or you can do it in a skillet on the stove top. Now, for this one, you can serve it as is over rice or couscous, or actually you can shred this up if you prefer. It's a really nice Mediterranean flavor type thing. So if you wanted, you could also serve it with a Greek salad. Sometimes with New Year's, you start with good intentions and you think like, this is gonna be the year that I meal plan, that I lose weight or get healthy or save money or get organized, like all these really good intentions, which all kind of fit into the whole freezer meal prep thing.
It really encompasses all of those things, doesn't it?
But sometimes, actually studies say that by the second Friday in January, most people have let go of their resolutions already.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that.
And so by the time you see this video, you might already be off that train. But we're here to say that you don't have to let go of those goals and they don't have to be failed resolutions, because freezer meals don't have to be that complicated and they really can be the answer to some of those goals that you had. With the Freezer Meals 101 Club, we take all of the guesswork out of it for you so that you can go in there and you can access over 400 of our tried and true freezer meal recipes. You know these are tested and they're gonna be delicious. And then you can create your custom meal plan, your printable shopping list, your prep list, and those printable labels that you're seeing in this video with the cooking instructions on it, so that on the day you go to make it, you just pull it out and it says right there what to do. You can even get someone else in your home or family to do that for you. These are great to even gift to other people because they've got the cooking instructions on them. And if you live on your own, you can also do this because we've got a lot of videos and a lot of tips on how to do meal prep for 1 or 2. So if you've decided that this is gonna be the year, don't let the fact that you haven't gotten there yet discourage you. This is absolutely possible. We're gonna have the link to the Freezer Meals 101 Club in the description down below.
This honey garlic chicken and vegetable sheet pan is a new one and it is beautiful. We start out with chicken thighs. This time we have our bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs. We're going to add in some frozen Brussels sprouts, red pepper and yellow pepper that are big and chunky, our chunky carrots and our chunky purple onion. We're going to add in some olive oil, cider vinegar, honey, minced garlic, chili powder, oregano, and a bit of salt and pepper. Mix it around as best you can in the bag. This is a pretty big bag full of vegetables and chicken here. And you're going to seal it up and freeze it. And this one is just an easy bake on a sheet pan in your oven. It's lovely because it's a whole meal all together. I would maybe put this with some rice.
Both of our families love butter chicken, and what we've done in the past, and you've probably seen us do this in videos, is literally take some cubed chicken and pour sauce from a jar, like butter chicken sauce from a jar, on top of it. Now, while that works and, you know, it saves you in a pinch, it's not exactly gourmet, and it's a little bit of a cheat, which there's no problem with it. Like, we're not judging if you need to do that. But we thought we would finally invent a recipe where we're actually making it from scratch. So we've got our raw chicken in the bags. It's cubed already. When we were doing prep, because this is the only recipe that's using raw chicken, we just cubed it and put it directly into the freezer bags. Then we're gonna add in some diced onion, some minced garlic, minced ginger from a squeezy tube, curry powder, garam masala, chili powder, cumin, salt, dried fenugreek, pepper, butter, Greek yogurt, tomato paste, and a splash of maple syrup to Canadianize it. You're gonna, again, squish all this together in the bag, seal it, freeze it. Now, for this one, we're just gonna heat it in a skillet when we go to make it, or you could do it in the slow cooker or the Instant Pot. We really hope that our version of butter chicken turns out to be at least as good as those jarred sauces you can get, and we're hoping that maybe it's even better. This has been one we've been wanting to make our own recipe for a long time, and we're really excited to give it a try. So we are completely done raw chicken. We do have some cooked cube chicken. We're gonna get to it later because we don't have to worry about cross-contamination or anything like that, and we're a little sick of chicken.
Yes, it's nice to, when we first started making freezer meals together, like Charlotte and I have been doing this together for like 13 years. And before that, we did it on our own. When we first started doing it, I mean, we weren't filming anything. We were just doing it because we needed the meals. We would do that. We would flip back and forth where we would be like, okay, I'm going to do chicken now. And oh, I'm going to do salmon next. And ooh, that ground beef is there. And so we would hop around protein to protein, but it was not very streamlined, and once we realized that, wait a minute, we are so much faster if we just power through all the chicken. And then we do all of the ground beef, and then we do all, you know, and it really did make things so much faster. So that is something that we want to pass along to you.
So we have one recipe using roast, and we wanted to get the roasts out of the fridge so we can make more space in the fridge. We were saying earlier that the fridges are pretty full because of our prepped ingredients. So Christy's gonna start working on that. I'm gonna start working on, we only have one recipe that's using like a garlic sausage ring. And when we prep them, because we only had the one recipe, we just put them right into bags. So that is also in the fridge, and I can just grab the bags out and they're gonna be ready to just throw the other ingredients in there. So I'm gonna get working on that. And then we'll probably move on. I don't know, we've got another raw beef one because it's the beef steak cubes.
And it would be nice to get that out of the fridge, but
yeah.
Also we have the ground sausage that's here. The ground beef is at home in my fridge. No point in bringing it if we're not doing it yet. We don't have room in the fridge, so I will bring it when we're ready for it.
Christy leaves a cooler on my front step. And as we do her meals, we put mine in the freezer and put hers in her cooler. Then when the cooler gets to the point where it's gonna be too heavy to lift, she puts it in the back of her vehicle that's parked at my front door. And since she lives 2 doors down, she just runs those home, and then she'll grab like anything that she forgot to bring, because sometimes, you know, there's something. Sometimes it's that she forgot to bring it. Sometimes it's that like we realize that there's an ingredient that we're short on and she might have it in her pantry or those kinds of things.
That's happened.
And
orange juice.
Totally. Today it was orange juice and measuring cups.
And measuring cups. I completely forgot them. I always like to bring mine to have extra. We have the same measuring cups, which is really funny. So I just take home the amount that I need.
Yeah,
Who
whichever
knows
ones.
which ones are whose over the years.
They just go back and forth. we kind of share measuring cups?
We kind of do.
But before I get to my sausage meal, I'm gonna set us up a snack station. And for lunch today, instead of eating like a sit-down lunch, we're just gonna graze at the snack station this afternoon. Because it was the holidays not that long ago, we actually had done a lot of appetizers that we made ahead and froze. So a lot of these are coming from my freezer. I've got a little tiny spinach dip that I'm gonna heat up.
I saw it.
Right?
I'm like excited about that.
And I picked up some mango salsa yesterday for some tortilla chips, and we've got fixings to go on crackers, and we've got a lot of leftover cheese after
We're very
the
fancy.
holidays.
We're gonna have a Freezer Meals Mega Session charcuterie board.
We are.
Oh, I'm gonna send you a picture of it to put it in. For Christmas this year, Charlotte got me a cheese board, and it's got Lionel Richie on it, and it says, "Hello, is this the cheese you're looking for?" And so I used it this holiday season, at Christmas, and I put the cheese on it, and I'm like, we have to hurry up and eat the cheese so you can see what's on my board. And then my nieces and nephews that were there, they didn't even know who Lionel Richie was. But my sister-in-law was there, and she thought it was pretty funny.
Okay, so I was with my daughter at a local craft fair, and I mean, I love getting gifts from something like that anyway, because you're supporting local, you're supporting people, like humans, right? Not that big corporations don't have humans in them, but it's just nice to like encourage someone that's doing something creative and artistic like that. And I saw these, as soon as I saw the Lionel Richie one, I was like, I have to get that for Christy.
And I'm gonna tell you, it's not like I'm like some massive Lionel Richie fan. I just really love a good pun.
And you love music.
And I love music. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
All music.
And I'm not even gonna lie a little bit. After everybody went home that night, I put on a Lionel Richie playlist, and I was listening. I was like dancing on the ceiling. I was totally Say You, Say Me. I was there and reliving my 80s childhood. Yeah. Having like a little minor crush on Lionel Richie on Canada's own video hits.
Totally.
Before there was much music, around the time that MTV existed, right?
We're dating ourselves,
really?
But yes. So I knew as soon as I saw it that she would love it, and I didn't pick it up.
Oh no!
And then I was kicking myself.
Oh no!
Because you know when you find like the perfect gift for someone, you should get it. Like you know. But I thought, well, maybe I'll see something else. And then the craft fair got super crowded. Like you couldn't even move. There were some aisles that we didn't even go down because you couldn't move in this place. When we got home, I kept thinking about it. And I was like, it's just so perfect. So I had to do a lot of research to figure out who was at this craft fair, what their website was.
I have totally done that. I bought cribbage pegs one time from a Comic-Con like the year before, but you look through the vendors list and you're like, yeah, it's probably this one.
So thankfully they're local, and I was able to get those picked up, but I also got another one for another friend, and it said, oh my goodness, it said something like, these things are made of cheese, who am I to disagree?
That's awesome. Did it have a picture of Annie Lennox on it? Like, because I have Lionel Richie on mine?
No, it didn't.
Still, that would be wild.
Yeah. So
that's so cute.
So we're gonna have our fancy snack station that we're gonna pick away at, and the reason we wanted to just tell you about that is because what you're doing today, the day you assemble the meals, is you're helping future you out. But it's important that today you take care of today you at the same time.
Yes, we didn't take care of today us for a long time, and it took us a while to figure out that, oh, we should eat. And actually, I'm usually the catalyst of it, because if I don't eat, I notice. I am very hungry, and I am not going to do anything else until I sit down and eat. And Charlotte will forget to eat. She's one of those people. They exist, and she's one of them. And it'll be like 3 o'clock, and she's like, oh, I have a headache. I should drink more water. And
it's like, no, maybe you should eat something.
We should eat some food. So this was a great solution. This is a great solution. And we don't lose time sitting at the table.
Yes, and tomorrow we will probably make sure that we have a full lunch and, proper sit down, because by then we might need to sit down.
Our feet get sore. Oh, which comes to tip number 72. Wear shoes.
Wear shoes, drink water, have a good playlist so that you can kind of get your body moving and keep your energy up. That's another one that is something we've learned over the years. Have snacks and lunches planned out so that you're not like surrounded by food but not able to eat anything.
This is our Mexican shredded beef. Into our bag, we're going to add our beef roast. We're going to add in sliced onion, minced garlic, green chilies, chipotle peppers, just a couple of them, some beef broth, cider vinegar, lime juice, cumin, oregano, smoked paprika, salt, and pepper. You're going to mix this around right in the bag, seal it up and freeze it. When you go to cook this, you can cook it in your slow cooker or in your Instant Pot. You're going to want to shred it up and you can serve it in tortillas with your taco fixings.
For the sheet pan maple Dijon sausage and vegetable, we've got our garlic sausage that's sliced in our bags already. We're gonna add in some peeled and diced sweet potato, frozen Brussels sprouts, some purple onion in large chunks, minced garlic, olive oil, Italian seasoning, pepper, maple syrup, and Dijon mustard. We're gonna squish everything together in the bag, give it a shake, then we're gonna get as much air as we can, seal it and freeze it. This one, you're gonna dump the contents of the full bag onto a parchment paper covered baking sheet. You're gonna bake it, and this is a great all-in-one meal.
This next recipe is the no peak beef tips. Into our bag, we have some stew meat. We're adding in sliced onion, minced garlic, sliced mushrooms, a packet of brown gravy mix, some dry onion soup mix, a can of cream of mushroom soup, some beef broth, some Worcestershire sauce, and salt and pepper. You can cook this in the oven, in the crock pot, and in the Instant Pot. And this is really nice to serve over mashed potatoes or rice or egg noodles.
Okay, now for the tortellini sausage skillet, I have to say that it was giant and mixing it was kind of hilarious because I was trying to like get air down in between the tortellini so that I could get the tomato sauce to sink down, and Christy was having a good laugh at me.
It was getting messy over there.
They were like filled to the brim, and she's like, it looks like a little kid is doing that, because it was such a mess. Anyway, it was just a little splatter, but...
I am not any tidier. If you weren't here for it, maybe you saw it on the B-roll, but I did knock off an entire spice jar of smoked paprika all over the mat here and on my shoe. And so I took it outside and I shook it off, and I said to Charlotte, it looks like
those Color Me Rad
runs where they throw colored powder at you. That's what her backyard looks like. It's very nice paprika, and it smells great.
Oh, okay. The mat.
The mat
is like a cushy, I don't know if you can tell, but over here I'm like sinking down. It's nice and cushy. Over here, no mat. So we both have a mat to stand on for when we assemble all these meals, because you're on your feet for so long that even those little things make a big difference. So we've got our shoes on and we're standing on these nice cushy mats.
Huge difference for your feet and your knees and your hips.
And those are in our Amazon shop if you want to grab them. The link for that is down below. So our tortellini sausage skillet has our tortellini in the bags, and then we've got some Italian sausage that we, in our prep, cooked and made into these little meatballs. We're gonna add some diced green pepper, diced yellow pepper, diced red pepper, sliced mushrooms, and diced onions. So there's lots of good veggies in here. Then we're just gonna add in a pasta sauce. Now normally for this recipe, we make our red sauce in our mega sessions, but actually this time I have an appointment tomorrow morning and I have to drive into the city. We're gonna be assembling still tomorrow, so we can't start on time tomorrow. We're gonna have a late start tomorrow. So we just made an executive decision that there just is no time to make red sauce. Now, these taste better if we make red sauce, and we often do, and actually we did a batch cooking session. I'll pop the video up there, and it was just to tide us over. In December we didn't have enough meals to last until our January mega session, so we just did that, and we did red sauce in that and we put it into meals. So we recently did it. It's not that we usually don't do it, but this time something had to go and that's what went. So I'm literally just using jarred pasta sauce in these. When you go to cook this up, you just thaw it and you dump the whole thing into a large skillet. It has to be a really large skillet because there's a lot here. This feeds a crowd. And then you're gonna add like half a cup of water, and the tortellini cooks right up in the sauce. The sausage meatballs are already cooked up, so your vegetables are gonna soften as the tortellini cooks up. It's gonna be like a nice one-pot meal that is super hearty. We like to take it on ski trips. We're doing a ski trip in February, so I'm gonna be taking one of my bags with me for that. Your family loves this one too.
We totally love it. It's a great one.
We are moving on to other proteins. We are done the beef stew beef and the beef roast.
Woohoo, yes.
And I am now done the ground Italian sausage that we made into like meatballs in our prep, because that was just one recipe, and the garlic sausage. So we're done that. So we're kind of moving on to other sausage recipes and tortellini, because the meatball sausage recipe I did was with tortellini, and tortellini was taking up a lot of space. You'll see why.
There's a lot of tortellini, and there's a lot of tortellini in that bag. Like, you'll see.
They are thick bags, and so they were taking up a lot of space in the fridge. So we're trying to make room in the fridge, because the next time that Christy goes home, or one of these times, it might not be the next time, she's gonna grab the ground beef that's prepped, and we need to have a space for that. So there's a method to our madness.
There is. And I have finished the raw beef, and I have moved on to the cooked ground sausage. This is going to be a little bit new for our family, because all of this is spicy Italian ground sausage, where normally I always tell Charlotte to get mild for us and spicy for her family, but she does the prep for that, so then she has to cook both, and it's extra bowls, and she has to do them separately. And so I'm like, okay, because I want the spicy for the lasagna soup, because it's amazing, and if you have it with the regular, it's okay, but it's just not doesn't have the same kick.
No.
I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I think we're gonna do it. We're gonna do spicy. My kids are getting more interested in spicy. So she was happy.
Oh, it was less prep for me.
Yeah.
And even when you're putting the recipes together, when you're doing like spicy in one and mild in another, or later we're going to be doing some where it's real beef in Christy's recipes and veggie beef in mine, it's a bit of a pain, to be honest, because you're keeping track of like which ones go to which house. We have a system for that where we always have them on one side.
It's funny because you and I both do it the same way, where it's yours are on this side and mine are on this side. For me, it's mine are on this side and yours are on this side. So, and it was years before we discovered that we were doing it the same.
It is, and you have to have a system because otherwise you lose track. And over the years, sometimes we've gotten distracted and lost track anyway. So we're saving time by having just spicy, and the lasagna soup is just so darn delicious. It's one of the ones that we both were like,
we haven't had it in a long time. We have to do this, and I'm going to show you something.
It's a good winter soup.
It's a great winter soup. I got this at Bulk Barn, but you can find it in stores. It's lasagna soup, and so the original recipe calls for broken up lasagna pieces, and so we like about 5 in the thing. But did you know that you can buy itty bitty mini lasagnas?
They have a specific pasta name.
Oh,
so if you know
at
what
Bulk
pasta
Barn,
name
it was
is.
called mini lasagna.
Oh, really?
It was.
Okay.
I'm sure it has a proper Italian pasta name, but yeah. So I picked some up for me and some for Charla, and now we can have like cute lasagna.
Cute
soup.
lasagna soup. It's going to be adorable.
Yes.
And it has like the ricotta cheese on top.
Did you know you can freeze ricotta cheese?
And ricotta can be expensive, so if you get it and you don't use all of it, this is just a great way to be able to not waste it.
Right. This hearty sausage and zucchini soup is a crowd favorite, and it has been a favorite of ours for a very long time. In your bag, you start with your Italian ground sausage. You're going to add in pasta sauce or red sauce if you have it. You'll add in white kidney beans, diced zucchini, diced carrots, diced onion, minced garlic, and if you want, you can add in your chicken broth now, or you can save your chicken broth and keep it in your pantry and add it in later on the day that you go to cook this. You also have pasta shells that you are going to put in a medium bag, and then you're going to staple the 2 bags together. Make sure you staple above the seal or you will have holes, and then you can freeze it like that. To go and cook this, if you haven't already put in the chicken broth, you're going to add it in at the time, and you're going to cook this in your slow cooker or on the stove top, and then the last 20 minutes throw that bag of pasta shells in and it will cook up in the sauce. This is a beautiful hearty soup. It is flavorful and your whole family will love it.
About to start the Alfredo tortellini that I was telling you about. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one of them in a bowl and transfer it into a couple of quart-sized freezer bags. That's what you would do if you're making individual portions of this. And the other ones I'm going to do in large freezer bags. But when we went to buy the tortellini, we bought it from Costco. They come in 3 packs, and we needed 8. So, right? That's right. Yeah, we needed 8.
We needed 8 and we got 9.
We got 9. So we've got 1 extra pack of tortellini, which is fine. We could throw it in the freezer, but I have a little bit left of those Italian sausage meatballs. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take another bowl, and in that bowl I'm going to mix together another one of those Italian sausage skillet tortellini like goodness things, and then I can portion that into individual portions too. I've got some young adult kids that are living on their own and they're just starting to cook for themselves, so I often gift them freezer meals, which they love and never complain about. And I know that especially the Alfredo one, my daughter it's one of her favorites, so she's going to be super happy to get that. And one of my sons loves the tortellini sausage skillet one, so I'll send that with him. So it will also help because it'll give you the idea of how you can adapt these recipes to make them for yourself if there's just one of you, or if there's just 2 of you, or whatever. You've got a smaller family. We have a pretty mega-sized family. Christy's family is more traditional sized?
We're more traditional sized, but my husband always likes to take leftovers for his hot lunch. And my son is 14 going on 15, and he was a lineman playing football this year, and he's taller than me, and he's getting broader than me, and this kid can eat. So I can definitely make use of some of the bigger meals, absolutely.
So for the smaller portions, another option is you can go into the Freezer Meals 101 Club and you can adjust the serving size. And that's another really easy way that you can just change these recipes and adapt them for what works for you. For the baked tortellini Alfredo, we've got our cheese tortellini. Then we're gonna add in whatever mix-ins you want. So sometimes we do cubed chicken that's already cooked, or we do sun-dried tomatoes. Sometimes we do bacon, sometimes we do chicken and bacon, or chicken and sun-dried tomatoes. Kind of whatever you have on hand. And if we had already done our recipes with the cooked cube chicken and I knew for sure that we had extra, but since we haven't done the chicken yet, I'm not sure if we have some left over. I suspect that we will, but I'm not totally sure. So what we're doing is we're adding in some sliced mushrooms because I know that we have extra sliced mushrooms, and we're adding in some frozen peas. Then we're gonna add in some Alfredo sauce just from a jar and some mozzarella cheese. We're just gonna squish that in the bag to combine it. We're gonna mix that in the bowl in the case of the individual one. And then normally what you would do is you'd put the Parmesan cheese into a medium-sized bag and you'd staple that onto your large bag so that you have everything you need for the day of cooking. Today, because the individual bags, it's such a small amount of Parmesan cheese that we would need for them, I decided not to do that. So I just, on the label, it says to top them with Parmesan cheese. We know that we have Parmesan in our fridges, so the day we go to make this, we can just sprinkle it with Parmesan cheese and bake it. But if you're making this, then you can staple the bag of Parmesan cheese on there just to make sure that you have it for sure when you go to cook this.
Lasagna soup, here it is. We're starting our bag with our ground Italian sausage. We're adding in oregano, basil, minced garlic, red pepper flakes, a bit of salt and pepper, some bay leaves, a bit of fennel seed, nutmeg, diced onion, chicken or beef broth, fire roasted diced tomatoes, and tomato paste. You can add ricotta cheese into a medium-sized freezer bag and set that aside. If you want to, you can leave the chicken broth out again and add it in on the day of cooking. It makes your bags a bit thinner, and it also helps when you go to defrost these. It defrosts quicker. It's nice to have a thinner bag. And I mean, it can just store forever kind of on your pantry, so it's better to maybe have it there than have it in the freezer. Make sure that you make a note on your bag to add it in and how much you need to add in, because sometimes I'll just put add chicken broth and then I'm like texting Charla and I'm like, how much am I supposed to put in? On the day you go to cook this, you are going to add your chicken broth in if you need to and cook this up. Add your pasta noodles near the end of cooking, those cute little lasagna noodles, or you can break up lasagna noodles. You could probably use macaroni if that's what you have. And you add it in, you're going to allow that to cook up, and then when you serve it, you take that ricotta that's been defrosted and you put it on each of the bowls, a little sprinkle of Parmesan, and now you're fancy. And this is so delicious. You don't understand. You have to try it, like right now. The spicy Italian sloppy joes start with your ground Italian sausage that's been browned and cooled. Put it in your bag. You're going to add minced onion, diced green pepper, diced tomatoes with spicy red peppers, some chili sauce, and some basil. This is a great one to serve up quickly in a skillet, and you can serve it on buns or spaghetti.
For the lemon butter baked cod, we've got our fish fillets in the bag, and then we're gonna add some salt, paprika, and pepper. In a quart-size bag, we're adding some butter, lemon juice, and minced garlic. We're gonna get those bags sealed up once we get the air out. We're gonna staple them together above the seal because when we go to cook this, we're gonna melt the butter, garlic, and lemon juice together. We can do that either in a small stovetop pot or just in a little container in the microwave. Then we're gonna put the fish fillets in a baking dish and we're gonna pour that butter mixture on top. We're gonna bake those in the oven, and then at the very end, we're gonna broil them. So they're gonna get that really nice texture, but I wasn't sure if this would work if we had everything all in that bag originally. Next time we make this, if we try it and love it, what I might do is try one where I put everything all in one bag and the other one where I do it in two bags like this and see if it really makes that much of a difference. We've had a few recipes over the years where we used to do extra steps, like say we would mix everything together in a bowl first and then we would transfer it into our freezer bags, and then we discovered that you don't often have to do that. And that saves like bowls because you're not dirtying dishes, and it saves like the step of having to scoop things into your freezer bag. So that made things faster. And we've had other things where we thought things needed to be like in a casserole dish or layered, and they didn't need to be. Now some things absolutely do need to be, like your lasagnas or your enchiladas, things like that. But there are some recipes where we were making it more complicated than it needed to be. So this is a recipe that in my head I'm planning already to try to see if I can simplify it if the flavors are good enough to kind of play with it and experiment. For the Mediterranean baked cod, we've got our fillets in the bag. We're gonna add some salt, minced garlic, lemon juice, cayenne, olive oil, parsley, capers, and pitted Kalamata olives. We're going to just mix this gently to combine it in the bag, get our air out, seal it, and freeze it. When we go to make this is more of a sheet pan meal, so you're going to just spread this out on parchment paper lined baking sheet, and you're going to add half a cup of baby tomatoes onto your baking sheet, and then you're just going to bake it until your fish flakes easily with a fork. And if you serve this with rice or with couscous or quinoa, then it'll make a complete meal, and hopefully, I mean, it's a new to us recipe, but hopefully it's going to be really delicious. we are into ground beef now, and I just finished doing all of the cod. Now this time we used frozen cod fillets because there was a sale. They were buy 2 packs, get 1 free. They were individually packaged, and so I was able to just portion them out 4 per bag. Normally we would probably do more, but all 3 of these are brand new recipes. We've had some requests to have more seafood recipes that aren't just salmon and shrimp, and we hear you. So we're experimenting. We've got 3 that we're trying out this time, and then I'm actually researching for some other ones that I'm pretty excited about too. So because they're new, we're only making 2 bags of each, 1 for each of our families to try. And again, because they're new, I didn't want to waste, like, seafood is expensive.
It depends where you live. We live in Alberta and we are landlocked. We are a long ways away from an ocean. Everything has to be shipped, so seafood here is pretty expensive.
Therefore, I just put 4 of the fillets in each of our bags, and we'll just try them. If we love them, then probably next time we'll add more fillets into the bags, and we'll make more than 2 of each, so that we can, it's just so much faster. I don't know if we've said that yet in this video, but it's so much faster to make multiples of your meals. So for our tried and true recipes, we're making 4 of each. For the new to us today recipes, we're making 2 of each so that our families go home with 1 bag each. Now there's a few exceptions. We're making a Arrabbiata sauce later that we are 99% sure is going to be amazing. So we're gonna go ahead and make 4 of that. We don't feel like that's too much of a risk. There is 1 recipe coming up that we're making 4 of that we're not as sure about, but we're just gonna take a leap off the cliff.
Oh, is it the El Tonno?
Yes,
okay,
it is.
Well,
so
sneak peek.
anyway, so I'm gonna tell you about these seafood ones, or I'm gonna tell you about these cod ones, but I wanted to say that because we're using frozen fillets, there's a few differences. One is that the seasonings and the oil, like the mixtures, don't mix as well onto the frozen fish because it's frozen. But as they thaw, we're gonna be able to gently mix that in there, and it's gonna create a really nice marinade. For one of these, we had to do 1 step in a medium bag and then staple that to this because fish is really delicate, and when you're cooking it, you have to be quite careful not to overcook it.
Right.
And so we're doing that one in 2 steps. Again, these are all experiments. We're pretty hopeful though.
Yes, and you have to mention about the tomatoes.
So yes, thank you for that. So
Only because it's actually hilarious.
So we're using San Marzano tomatoes in one of these, and they come whole. They're the Roma tomatoes that are canned. They're really nice for a canned tomato, but they do come whole, and these needed to be, you know, separated a bit.
Normally you would, you know, do it with your fingers through the bag, or you can take them out of the can and you can run them through a processor. You can do whatever you want to break up your tomatoes. Don't mind us. The cat is in the recycling. We're just going to keep going.
But today I was actually able to squish them through the bag and get them to exactly the consistency that I wanted because, of course, with the fish being frozen, I didn't have to worry about breaking apart the fish or doing any damage. So it was actually really handy. If you did these with fresh fish fillets, then you would have to do something about the tomatoes before you added them into the bag, or add them into the bag first, squish them through the bag, and then add your fish and all of your other ingredients. So I just wanted to kind of give that caveat.
And that's where the joke came from, because we had to tell you if you needed to pre-squish your tomatoes.
And then I was like, there's something fishy about this situation. So the puns are happening. We're kind of hitting that point of day 1.
We're in the runner's high.
Yeah.
We've hit the wall and we've run
Pushing
right through it.
So,
The cat is like building a castle over there. I don't know.
I don't know if you can hear this, but one of our cats has gotten into the recycle bag. I don't know, like there's some chicken broth. We call them Tetra Paks here. They're like
Boxes
they're like
of
the
chicken
box.
broth.
And so I don't know if that's what he's gotten into. We can't actually see from our vantage point, but we can hear, and it sounds like like he's building
He's like
something
constructing.
or-
I don't know.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to investigate that. But first, let me tell you about this Cod Puttanesca. We've got our fish fillets in the bag, then we're adding in some diced onion, some minced garlic, again just from the jar, some anchovy paste, we're just squeezing it out of a tube, some red pepper flakes, those pitted Kalamata olives that we've been using all day, some capers, again we are trying to go through that big jar of capers today, some San Marzano tomatoes that we are going to later, after we get everything in here, we're just gonna crush them with our fingers right through the bag. Some dry white wine. Thankfully, I had some left over from a holiday party we had at Christmas time. Some oregano, thyme, and sea salt. We're gonna get this all mixed together in the bag. When we go to make it, we're actually going to do this one kind of as we're actually gonna poach the fish in this sauce. So we're hoping that this works really, really well. We've got two pasta puttanesca recipes. One is just a sauce, one's a one-pot pasta puttanesca, and we love those, so we hope that we like this one too.
This is beef hash. We start out with our lean ground beef in our freezer bags. We're going to add in frozen hash browns, some minced onion, some dry onion soup mix, a cup of beef broth, and a dash of pepper. We're going to mix those up right in the bag and seal it up. We're going to then add some cheddar cheese to a medium-sized bag and staple the bags together, and that is it. When we go to cook this, you can do it in a casserole dish in the oven, or it is good to put in your crock pot, but that is something you definitely want to grease your crock pot for because she's a sticky one.
A little bit ago, I was telling you that we also have this one-pot pasta puttanesca, but I completely forgot that it's in this same video. And so we're making it, and the reason that we are doing that, and I wanted to come over and talk to you and share that with you, is that it is faster and way less expensive if you make recipes with similar ingredients, especially if you can find those ingredients on sale. And for this, we shopped 15% off day and sales and flyers and all of that. So we were able to get things for as inexpensive as possible. But the puttanesca, well, 3 of the recipes that we chose for today use anchovy paste. And that is completely intentional because those little tubes, once you open them, they don't last that long.
Like 4
even
or
in
5
the fridge.
days, they are done. Yeah.
So we don't want to waste half a tube of anchovy paste. We want to make a bunch of recipes so that we use the whole tube, or we might even go through 2 tubes today. We want to actually use it and not waste anything. That's another thing. We're kind of...
That is another great thing about freezer meals, is that you don't waste as much. You don't have your produce sitting at the bottom of your crisper going bad because it's in your meals and it's getting into your freezer, it's getting into your stomachs. So we're not big on waste. We do like to use everything that we have, which is why at the end of tomorrow, Charlotte will invent a bunch of things that, because it just kills her to throw it out.
I know, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And some of our best recipes have come from those leftover ingredients. Actually, 2 mega sessions ago, we invented like a one-pot sausage gnocchi, creamy one-pot sausage gnocchi.
So good.
It's really good. And someone actually just left us a comment in the club yesterday that they had tried this and absolutely loved it, and it was going into their regular rotation. So those are the kind of meals that come about just because we have leftover things at the end. So I don't think I'm gonna invent anything with the anchovy paste because that's not something I'm super familiar with. But I did intentionally choose 3 different recipes that all use that so that we can make the best use of it possible, and we didn't have any of it go to waste. So I am gonna go and make the one-pot pasta puttanesca, which ironically I was telling you about earlier. For this, we are putting in our bag some olive oil, anchovy paste, minced garlic, San Marzano tomatoes. We're gonna break those up with our fingers after we seal up the bag. Some pitted Kalamata olives, capers, red pepper flakes, chicken broth, salt, and pepper. And when we go to make this, because it's a one pot, the thing that I love about it is after you thaw it, you put it in a large stovetop pot or a large skillet, and your spaghetti noodles cook up right in here. So you don't need to dirty another pot, you don't need to dirty a strainer. You can just have a one pot meal right there, and you can top it with some basil if you want, some Parmesan cheese, and some more red pepper flakes. One thing you might notice that also saves a lot of time is that we don't always measure exactly. Now, we kind of have a good idea of what a quarter cup or a half cup or a cup looks like. So when we're throwing in like a handful of cheese or something like that, kind of know approximately what it's supposed to look like, and we just go with that. If we're doing like some lemon juice or whatever, then if it's a teaspoon, if it's a tablespoon, we just kind of throw it in and estimate. For a lot of our recipes, that works really well, and they're kind of fail-proof recipes. Some of the recipes you do have to measure, and so you'll notice that we are measuring for those. And then anything that we've never made before, we're more likely to measure exactly with our measuring cups and our measuring spoons, because for those we want to actually know what's going in it, so that when we test it and freeze it and then try it to see if it's good enough to share with you and go on our website or in the Freezer Meals 101 Club, then we want to know that we actually made it exactly the right way. That way, if we think like, oh, it's got too much salt, not enough salt, it's too tangy, not tangy enough, like whatever it is, then we can play around with those things after. But for our tried and true recipes, you're gonna be able to see that a lot of times we're just kind of throwing things in. That saves time because we're not having to wash our measuring spoons and measuring cups as often, and it's, even though it's just like seconds of time here and there or a minute here and there, when you're doing this many meals at one time, all those little things add up. So that's another time-saving tip.
Cheeseburger gnocchi is a new one to us, so we are only making 2 of these, and Charlotte is doing hers with the veggie beef so that she gets to try it too, and it looks really interesting. So we are starting out in our bags with our ground beef or veggie beef, and we're going to add in little footsteps of a toddler, which you can probably hear in the background. And on top of that, we're gonna add some gnocchi. We're gonna add in some gnocchi, some salt and pepper, smoked paprika, cumin, mustard powder, minced onion, a can of Rotel, some beef broth, and heavy cream. We're going to mix that around in the bag and seal it up, and in another bag we will add some more cheddar cheese that's been shredded. We're going to staple those together, and then when you go to cook this, this is just going to be a quick one on the stove top. You're going to allow it to thaw and sprinkle it with the cheese once it's hot, and you know, you can be fancy and sprinkle it with some sliced green onions. And I bet you it's not terrible if you added some dill pickles, because this is cheeseburger gnocchi.
We're laughing because we're trying to find our mics, and we're
Are we on?
We're just kind of giddy. Oh, Christy's mic isn't even on.
We have reached the silly portion
your
of
mic is
the day. It's on. It just wasn't like on. I was still like...
We're really giddy because we're tired, and when we get overtired, we get giddy. And there was a recipe a while back that had some wine in it, and I just said to Christy, like, I promise I didn't drink that wine because we're just silly.
We were doing the bunny hop a minute ago because we have no energy, yet we are dancing in this kitchen because we're having fun.
And so
what's our number? Oh yes.
So we're wrapping up. Even though we're not completely done, we are ending the day at 69 meals. It's an odd number because of the individual meals that we made. Ended up being 7 of that recipe. So anyway, 69 meals. I don't know where that puts us in terms of
where we'll end up.
I think we're kind of around halfway, maybe a little more than halfway.
I think we're more than halfway. We got to be more than halfway.
We have to be more than halfway. We have to be more than halfway because we've finished the raw chicken, not the cooked chicken, but we finished the raw chicken. We finished the cod, the sausage, the sliced sausage. We've done 1 of the vegetarian recipes. We've done 2 of the beef recipes, ground beef.
Plus all of the raw beef.
So actually, we have to be more than halfway. Although we have a tuna recipe, the seafood, whatever,
seafood curry,
the cooked chicken, the rest of the ground beef,
and some more vegetarian.
More vegetarian. So
we'll be back fresh tomorrow, and we will zip through these. Like tomorrow, I have a Filipino style picadillo.
Picadillo.
Oh, picadillo. I researched it. We were deciding whether we should say it the anglicized way or the Spanish way, and we agreed that we could pronounce the Spanish way, and then I said it the wrong way anyway. Picadillo.
It's the right way for.
And tomorrow you have looking for. See, I can't even talk. You get to look forward to a Big Mac salad, which I'm actually looking forward to making and trying, and then a Fiesta beef casserole, which is a reimagining of a hacienda casserole that didn't quite meet the mark, but you felt like it was worth another try.
Another example
So we just renamed it and thought, no.
No. But that's an example of how we tweak things if they're like not quite club worthy, but worth revisiting.
Right.
So my husband renamed it because he was like, hacienda makes no sense for this. And
Well, it just means house, right? House casserole.
yeah, but
Fiesta sounds more exciting, doesn't it?
But this didn't fit.
Okay.
Like that name didn't fit this. And that night that we had it, my mom was over, like a whole bunch, like we just had a house full. And everybody tried it and everyone was
A house full. It was hacienda.
Maybe we should
My
go
Spanish
back to calling
is on
it
point
hacienda.
tonight.
So anyway, everybody kept going back and they were like, it's not quite right, but there's something here. And so there were quite a few suggestions of what we should do to salvage it, save it, but yet it was really good. And it was like wiped clean, like everybody ate it, there were no leftovers, and people had seconds and things. So it's definitely worth
Another
tweaking.
visit.
Yes, but
And then we'll get it right and we'll have a party.
a fiesta. So anyway, maybe it'll be like Hacienda Fiesta Casserole. I don't know. We're just silly at this point, but we are at 69 meals. I'm going to show you the freezer because this is the end of day one. We do have a lot of dishes to do. Sometimes my mom comes and helps us with dishes, but she was busy today and she's going to help us out tomorrow, which we're so thankful about.
We were down to no spoons.
So I tried. I mean, I loaded and emptied the dishwasher a few times and things, but
it's still a bit of a disaster.
It is a complete and utter disaster. I think I'm going to take some video of how bad it really is, and you can look in the B-roll and stuff, but it's bad in here. So it'll probably take us about an hour to just get this to a place where we can leave the kitchen. But for all intents and purposes, end of day one, stay tuned because it's going to be day two for us, but it's going to be in the same video for you. So we're going to be here and we're going to do those ground beef recipes, but a whole bunch of other recipes too. So it's going to be a lot of fun and maybe not quite as giddy or silly as today, but maybe.
Not in the beginning. I'm sure it'll end that way because it always seems to.
Okay, let's go check out the freezer. This is it, the big reveal. Okay, it's not really the big reveal, that's tomorrow.
It's the half reveal.
Later in the video.
Dun, 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 dun.
Isn't it beautiful? All right, we're gonna see you soon. It's day two.
It's day two. Welcome.
And we're feeling actually really refreshed because we did the math last night. You know how I like to count the amount of meals that we've done, as Christy has
A very
pointed
important
out.
number came out of this counting, though. You have to understand.
Today we have 35 left to do, although there will probably be some additions with some things that I'm going to invent. But the amount of recipes we have left, not including the inventions, is 11. Of the ones that we have to do today, most of them are brand new to us recipes. So they're ones that we're only going to be doing 2 of, which is why we have such a small number today.
But what that adds up to is about 35 meals, and we did double that yesterday.
We ended yesterday with 69.
That's crazy. That's crazy. It's a good day.
It's going to be a great day. What we're doing is, okay, we're going to start on, I'm going to start on cooked cube chicken. The reason I'm going to start on this is because I think if I have leftovers of any of the proteins, it's going to be the cooked cube chicken. Therefore, I want to know what I'm working with and be able to like invent those extra recipes if I need to. If I don't, we're gonna be done today really quickly.
Yeah, I'm just so excited to have my stack in my freezer.
Oh, it feels so good. Our freezers were pretty bare back in November. We kind of emptied them right out. And then we didn't want to do a mega session in December, so we did this like big batch cooking day that we told you about before. And you know, that went well, but we didn't make a ton of variety. We made like a lot of what we made, but it was a lot of ground beef meals, and it was like chilies and sloppy joes and spaghetti sauces and those kind of things, which are great family meals, nothing wrong with that, but not a lot of exciting variety.
Nothing exciting about it. It was perfunctory and it got the job done, and we ate, and it's good.
And then we had the holidays, and so we had a lot of like make-ahead appetizers in there, which we're still enjoying.
Yes.
And I did my baking, so I had some things in the freezer, but I did not have meals
Right.
in the freezer.
In fact, I had to like take on her chicken that is now in here and her meatballs because she didn't have room. She's like, I need room for baking. Do you have room in your chest freezer? And so I do. Chest freezers are funny that way. They're like Narnia. They're you just keep putting it on top. They never really fill up.
It's true.
It's like a clown car.
Once the holidays were over and those appetizers were gone and the baking was mostly gone, it's like, this is very empty. So I do in my second freezer, which we'll show you, I do have some soups in super cubes for lunches. So I do have that, but I did not have any family meals left. So last night, being able to like open the freezer and be like, we're not gonna have to worry about dinner for a long time.
It feels so good. It feels
awesome.
so great.
And we're starting out, I'm really like wide awake. It's not that early, but I have been awake forever because I've been awake since 5 because I had this appointment in the city this morning for an ultrasound. I was telling Christy about it earlier because it was on the ladies. And
get your boobs checked, ladies. Go and do it.
Called an ABIS, which is a newer type of ultrasound, and it's weird. It's just weird. That's what I'm gonna say. So I did describe it in detail to Christy. I'm not gonna describe it.
It's actually on the B-roll. You can see her mime it to me if you really pay attention quickly.
Anyway.
And me going,
So, I've done that already. I came back and I said to both my mom, who I was talking to on the phone, and to Christy, I was like, I am so thankful I work from home and I don't live in the city because driving in morning rush hour was like no fun at all. So it made me feel very grateful, and it's always a good way to start a day, feeling grateful. My mom is gonna come help today with dishes, which we're also grateful for.
yes. Yeah.
And it's gonna be fantastic. Oh, and Christy's gonna start on ground beef because she ended on ground beef yesterday and she's already like in the groove.
I'm in the ground beef groove. I'm gonna probably start with the beef stroganoff so I can use up a chunk of these mushrooms. And you know, the recipe it used to call for like a 1/4 cup of mushrooms. What even is that? So we started putting in 3/4 cup, and now we just like handfuls of mushrooms in the beef stroganoff. And my son, who does not eat mushrooms, will eat beef stroganoff.
So we're always happy to add extra mushrooms in there.
Do what I can to get food into that kid.
And when you say that, it makes me think there's one of the chicken recipes that calls for mushrooms.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to do it first because
do it.
It's our last recipe other than the stroganoff.
That needs the mushrooms, and
Yeah.
then I can use the rest for the stroganoff.
Totally.
See, this is how you do it. That was
I'm thinking.
Okay, I was listening to a 90s pop mix this morning, and This Is How You Do It came on. This is how you do it. We are in a mood this morning. This is great.
It's great. It's going to
Do
be...
freezer meals with your best friend.
Oh, the best.
The best.
And if you don't have one that lives close, if you don't have one that'll do meals with you, if you don't have one, period,
We'll do
let
it with
us
you.
be your besties.
We'll do it with
We
you.
can be in your kitchen doing meals with you because it really is the best.
It is. And I don't know if you know this. If you're in the Freezer Meals 101 club, every month we get together with our besties in the club, and our besties in the club.
But it's kind of true.
It's kind of true, and we do a cooking class. Now, starting in January, pay a little bit of money, get your PDF, and join the class, And it's like you're in the club, just for temporary, for that day, and you can come and cook with us, and we would love to have you.
And you can ask your questions and join us in the chat, and you can see us doing it as you're doing it, because you get your PDF ahead, so you've got your recipes, your shopping list, your prep list, your printable labels. You do your prep ahead. Not everybody does. Some people prefer to watch us do it first, and then they do it.
And some people just show up to chat.
Totally. But some people really do
cook along.
Show up with their prepped ingredients, and right as we're assembling, they're assembling, and
they ask us questions. And
it's so great. So yes, join us for that. I'll put the link for that down in the description below. And today is just going to be a fantastic day. We're hoping to also teach you some more things. We've got more tips for you. And as we go along, sometimes we discover other things that we can share with you. So we'll pop back in and...
Okay, I'm gonna do beef stroganoff second, if you're gonna do the mushroom one first. So I will do something, I'm gonna do the Filipino picadillo.
Yay!
This is the Filipino style picadillo. We have been talking about this the entire mega session, and here it is. Into your large freezer bag, you're going to add your ground beef. You're going to add in minced onion, minced garlic, diced tomatoes, tomato paste, fish sauce, some raisins, beef broth, manzanilla olives, frozen cubed hash browns, peeled and diced carrots, frozen peas, and salt and pepper to taste. We're going to mix it around right in the bag. Something that is neat about this recipe, it calls for 14 ounces of diced tomatoes. We have 28-ounce cans, so this is a no-brainer to double this one. And then you don't have any waste, you can use up your whole can. And then you're gonna freeze this. When you go to eat it, it's quick to thaw. It's just gonna be a skillet meal. You're gonna serve it with rice, and this is a super interesting looking weeknight fast meal. Okay, when we are making our meals, we wanna do our prep ahead so that it is done and it's really just an assembly day. Part of that is cooking your ground meat ahead of time. We like to do ours, I do it in the skillet. You can do it, actually this one I did in the oven because I didn't have a lot and I had other things to do, so it just kind of cooked itself in the oven, and that way it gives a chance to cool, and it really is 2 1/3 cups. So these little, we always just keep a measuring cup right in with our onions, with our ground beef, with our ground sausage, with whatever that we're going to use over the period of the 2 days. And it's super simple. You just pop this into your bag and it's measured out, and you know that that's a pound or 2 pounds. Pound and a half gets a little tricky. You just kind of got to give it your best guess. And the other reason we like to cook it ahead of time is for texture reasons. Sometimes you will see freezer meal plans or clubs or other websites that put it in raw, and then it cooks up raw in your dish. But then you're not getting a chance to brown it. You're not getting a chance to drain the extra fat from that. And you know, that's not our jam. Our jam is to cook it ahead of time, get the great texture, get a chance to drain the extra fat off of it. And it's super easy to assemble on assembly day.
So I measured out my chicken, and sadly I had exactly enough to do what we planned, which is like, it's not sad, but I had...
That's what you want, people. That's what you want. That is what I want. That is what you want. That is what
No. And so last night when I was like, ooh, we might end up with leftover chicken, I looked and I found some ideas. And there were 2.
I was looking at cat videos on YouTube, and you were looking up chicken recipes to make this go longer.
Right? You see how this works.
And just so you know, there's a thing called cat TV, and it is birds at a bird feeder, and squirrels come, and your cat will watch it, I promise.
Yeah, so different activities last night.
I played Planet Zoo, and I locked my people in a sidewalk, and I didn't know how to get them out. It was a whole thing. You were looking up chicken recipes.
So the ones that I came down to was this chicken fajita pasta. That just sounds like something we need to make.
Yeah.
And then also...
Actually, that does sound really good.
I've been trying for years and years to get a good iteration of a buffalo chicken pasta. And so I found one of those. So
they're just going to be 1 and 1?
Well, what I decided to do is, because I have only just enough chicken, is I'm gonna make the chicken and sun-dried tomato pasta sauce that we were gonna make 4 of. I'm just gonna make 2. we already know it's great, but I'm just gonna make 2, 1 each. Then we'll have 2 extra bags. And if we have leftover peppers, then I will make the chicken fajita pasta in both bags. If we don't have extra peppers at the end of the day when we figure out what we're left with, then I will make the buffalo chicken pasta in those 2 bags.
Because there is Frank's Red Hot by the gallon at this house.
There
So
sure
that's
is.
easy.
So we know for sure that I'll have the ingredients for that. So that's my plan. Either way, we are at some point in the next month or so going to be trying both of those recipes because I will find a way to make them.
Yes, you will.
If not now. I'm just sharing with you my brain and the way things go.
I love your brain.
And now I'm gonna go and make these 2 chicken sun-dried tomato pastas and then we'll move on. For the chicken and sun-dried tomato pasta sauce, we've got our cooked, cubed, and cooled chicken breasts right in the bag. Then we're adding in some cooked and crumbled bacon, thinly sliced onion, sliced mushrooms, some sliced sun-dried tomatoes, lemon juice, Madras curry paste, a bit of white wine, some poppy seed salad dressing, which is a bit odd, but it does taste good in here, and a can of evaporated milk. We're going to squish that all together in the bag to combine it. On the day you go to make this, you're just gonna simmer it in a skillet and then you're gonna serve it on a long noodle like a linguine or spaghetti, and it's really, really good.
The ground beef stroganoff is an oldie but a goodie. We start out with our ground beef in the bag. We're going to add in diced onion, minced garlic, sliced mushrooms, a bit more sliced mushrooms, and a bit more sliced mushrooms maybe. We're going to add in Worcestershire sauce, some cream of mushroom soup, some sour cream, a bit of parsley, and a bit of pepper. Mix it around in the bag and seal it up and freeze it. When you go to cook this, you can do this in your skillet or in your slow cooker, and then you're gonna serve it on cooked egg noodles, and right before you serve it, you just wanna give it another little 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of sour cream. It just increases the zip and it just makes it that much creamier, and it is a great family favorite meal.
I'm setting out my bags of chicken for the sun-dried tomato, what is it called? Sun-dried tomato pasta sauce. Is that what it's called?
It's more-
chicken and sun-dried tomato pasta sauce.
I was gonna say it's more elaborate than that. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm setting out my bags. Got an empty counter where you can't actually see it because it's behind the cameras. You can maybe see it on our B-roll camera that we've got rolling and sped up for you here and there. But I'm gonna spread all the bags out. I'm gonna open them up like you see these here, and I'm going to portion the chicken into it.
This recipe is the Big Mac salad, and it was probably the most interesting recipe to me that I wanted to try. Charlotte's been tossing this idea around for a while, and I'm glad it's finally here. So in our bag, we're gonna have ground beef that's been browned and cooled. We're adding in some salt and pepper, a bit of garlic powder, some minced onions, some finely diced dill pickles, and that is it. In a second bag, we're going to put in some shredded cheese. We're gonna staple the bags together. Then when you go to cook this, you're going to heat the mixture if you want, or you can make it cold. And then you're going to mix this into a salad of shredded lettuce with some Thousand Island dressing. And optionally, you can put some sesame seeds and some diced tomatoes on this and mix this right into the salad. I'm I think it's gonna be like a taco salad, but it's a Big Mac salad. I am really excited about this, and it'll probably be one of the first ones I try.
This Marry Me Chicken Gnocchi Soup is a brand new recipe, so we're only making 2 because we're just giving it a try. Christy's actually fairly unimpressed with the idea of gnocchi in a soup, so she's being a good sport about this idea of mine.
I've been wrong before, and I am happy to be a test subject here. I just thought it was weird, but I'm in.
And another thing I want to tell you before I get to the recipe is one of the things that you've seen today, because we're using proteins today that are already cooked. So far, we've got some raw ones coming later, but so far we're using ground beef that's already cooked and chicken that's already cooked. The reason that it's really good to do your prep ahead isn't just because it saves time and it breaks it up and it makes it less overwhelming and all of that. It's also because when you put warm or hot ingredients into a freezer bag, then it creates condensation in the bag. And condensation, it changes the texture of things later, but also it can lead to freezer burn. So by having these ingredients done, prepped ahead and in our fridges, then when we go to actually assemble the meals, they're nice and cool and they can go in the bags and not cause any of those issues. So in our bag, we've got that cooked, cooled, cubed chicken. Then we're gonna add in some diced onion, minced garlic, sun-dried tomatoes that are sliced, tomato paste, pesto, oregano, pepper, and chicken broth. We're gonna get that bag sealed up once we get the air out of it. And then in another bag, we're gonna add in some potato gnocchi. You wanna use the refrigerated kind, not the shelf-stable kind. Then you're gonna add in some heavy cream and Parmesan cheese. Now I could have done this part in a medium-sized bag, but because of the gnocchi, it would have been really, really fat and it would have made things awkward and not sit very nicely in the freezer. So that was my reasoning on doing it in a large bag, even though it's not a lot in the large bag. Anyway, then you're gonna staple those 2 bags together above the seal. And when you go to make this one, you're gonna cook the large bag contents in a large stovetop pot. And you're gonna, bring them to a simmer and kind of let them do their thing. And then you're gonna add the contents of the other bag, the gnocchi and cream and Parmesan cheese, because you don't wanna overcook the gnocchi. After you put the gnocchi in, it's just 5 or 6 minutes and it's done. If you want, at that point, you can also add in some chopped spinach for some extra nutrients and color. And you can sprinkle this with some extra Parmesan cheese if you like. I have no idea what this is going to be like because we generally like soups, but it is a bit of a departure for us to put gnocchi and chicken and pesto and sun-dried tomato, all these things in one place and have them in a soup. So we'll see. We'll of course let you know. If it never ends up in the Freezer Meals 101 Club, then you know that Christy was right. And if it does, then you know that I was right. Not that being right is important.
The Fiesta beef casserole, which is the reincarnation of the Hacienda casserole. We're starting with our ground beef. We're adding in our hash browns, some minced onion, some chopped green pepper, some kernel corn that has been drained, some barbecue sauce, some chili powder, and mix that up in the bag. Then in another bag, you're going to put in some shredded cheddar cheese and staple those bags together. You're going to cook this in a casserole dish with the cheese on top. And then a secret ingredient that you're going to add at the time is those crispy fried onions that you can get in the grocery store, and let this crisp up, and this will be also a family favorite.
Okay, seriously, it's because I read the book What I Ate in a Year by Stanley Tucci, and it was maybe my favorite read last year. Not the deepest, not the most life-changing, but the sweetest and just heartwarming and easy read and all the things. And I talked Christy's ear off about this book, and I asked for the book Taste by Stanley Tucci from my husband for Christmas, and I got it. So this is probably not the last time this year that you'll hear me talk about Stanley Tucci, because someday I'm going to read that. I don't have time right now, but someday I am. So in his book, he talked about this spaghetti al tonno, which is tuna spaghetti, which is so weird. It's so weird. And we both actually like canned tuna. Like, we have a tuna casserole that's really, really good, and it has rave reviews. Like, people who like it love it. And we also like doing tuna sandwiches, like
tuna melts.
Totally. So we're not opposed to canned tuna, neither one of us. But this is weird. It's weird.
It's weird.
It's got things like there's anchovy paste going in this.
And that makes total sense.
Tomatoes.
For it to be Italian and with the tuna, and this is where the San Marzano tomatoes are going to go, and lots of capers. Like, it is actually, well, it's kind of like the other one where all the things that go together, you're like, the soup, I don't know if this is all going to make sense to go together. But we trust Stanley Tucci.
Right. So I am like, if anyone else,
and we're making 4 of these.
Total. Yeah, we're
committing.
We're committing. We're like all in. We're trusting. We're doing the trust fall with Stanley Tucci. I trust you.
I think we need to like tag him in this so he can see us talking about this weird recipe.
Goodness.
I'm excited.
It's
got wine in it. We need more white wine. We're not going to have enough.
So
we have the other wine. We have the backup wine.
I already said someone left some wine at our holiday party, so I've been using that. And hopefully it's still fine because it's been a few weeks, but whatever.
Fine.
And then I have some wine in my fridge that is rosé, which I understand is not dry white wine, but rosé, white, like it, I know they're not the same, but I don't want to buy, we just don't drink wine, so I don't want to buy wine.
And it was weird, like,
we bought red wine.
Red wine for, I don't even remember what.
For freezer meals, and it's like
you said we needed
like
2/3 of a cup.
Or something.
I'm like, I almost went and got one of the little ones. We'll make ice cubes with it, like Martha Stewart.
So you can freeze your wine. You can put it in ice cube trays and then freeze it. When it's fully frozen, you pop it out and you put it into freezer bags. And then actually, like, red wine brings such depth of flavor into like a chili or a spaghetti sauce or anything. Like, actually the beef that we made with yesterday with the beef stew cubes, whatever that was,
nice in there.
would be really good in there. So anything like that. And then white wine pairs so beautifully in dishes like where you've got your, like a shrimp scampi or
a chicken dish, a fish dish, tuna.
Right? I mean, it's going in here. So
I think it'll be fine. I'm excited to try it. We'll probably have it pretty early.
Oh yeah, I think this is going to be one where Christy and I sort of plan like what day are we both going to try
it.
The tuna on, because we're both scared and excited. Right? I'm nervous.
I think we just need to rip the Band-Aid off and do it. But we always freeze our stuff first.
Yes.
So that we run it through its paces so that we know that it will still taste good.
So it can't be today.
No.
Is what we're saying.
But,
and my husband does not eat canned tuna. He likes like a tuna steak or raw tuna, but he does not eat canned tuna. And so I don't know how I'm going to sneak it in. Or maybe I will get him to read Stanley Tucci's book.
And then he'll be like, oh, we should make this. You should try this. And you'll be like,
you already have.
Anyway, does that sound like evil laughing? No, it's fun laughing, I promise.
Anyway, okay. So I don't know. One of us is going to make this at some point, and then we'll tell you the full recipe. But I just had to come and explain
to get
why.
it off your chest.
Like, and I just, okay. And I love the book because, he talks about like eating in a way. His passion for food comes through, which I can really relate to because we have that in common. And I'm not comparing myself to Stanley Tucci. I'm not as good a cook or anything like that, but we do both love food. And so that came through, and then also just the simplicity of like just a regular life and good conversations with friends and meals with friends and that kind of thing. So I really liked it. I enjoyed it. We're gonna cook some more. I just went to the other fridge to try to look for cheese, and I didn't find cheese. I'm gonna look at this fridge now, but I found something else.
I know what you found.
I found bags of cooked cube chicken in the drawer of the fridge. My daughter had been doing the chicken, and I think at one point she came and said, "Mom, it doesn't fit in the bowl. Do you want me to start another bowl, or what do you want me to do?" And I think I said, "You know what would be great is if you divided it equally into 4 bags."
So now we can have more of the one, or you can invent 4 more.
So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the 2 that we were supposed to do, like
We have the stuff for it.
the extra of, okay, I've got the bacon already cooked and crumbled. So I'm gonna make
Chicken
it
and
so,
sun-dried tomato pasta sauce.
I'm gonna make that, and then we have 2 more. We're gonna figure it out.
Do you know what? I know you want to invent something, but I could do like a chicken noodle soup. We have a lot of carrots.
Yeah, we do. Okay, we're gonna get this figured out. It's not a problem. It's a positive.
It's a happy problem to have.
I gotta go because the cat is on the counter because he
can
smells
smell
the
the
tuna.
This is the spaghetti al Tonno. I feel very proud to be the one to tell you about this because Charlotte was the one who read the book and she was so excited about it. But I was the one who got to make it. Yay! And thank you, Stanley Tucci. I'm a big fan too. I haven't read his books, but I do know that he is like a big foodie. So into a smaller bag, a medium-sized freezer bag, we're going to add in a can of tuna that has been drained and then some fresh chopped basil. And then you can seal that up and set it aside. Into your large freezer bag, you're going to add minced onion, capers, anchovy paste, minced garlic, white wine, oregano, red pepper flakes, cayenne, and salt and pepper. Then you're going to take a can of San Marzano tomatoes and you either crush them in a blender or use an immersion blender to make them very, very smooth. Then you can add that to your bag, and I want to add that at the end so it doesn't like fall over and take off on you. If you are finding it's a little bit difficult to keep upright, you can always put it in a juice jug or put it in a container that it'll hold it up for you a little bit while you complete this. You're gonna remove the excess air, seal those bags and staple them together. When you go to cook this, you are going to cook the large bag contents first and on the stovetop, and then you're going to add in the tuna and the basil, and when you go to serve it, just serve it on your spaghetti and sprinkle it with some Parmesan cheese. I'm really looking forward to it. Even though it is a little bit weird, I am going to choose to trust Stanley Tucci.
The one pot Cajun chicken pasta is always a winner, and we are really looking forward to having it into our bag. We've got our cooked cube chicken. We're gonna add some Cajun seasoning, sliced red pepper, sliced yellow pepper, some thinly sliced purple onion, minced garlic, some diced tomatoes with spicy red pepper, heavy cream, cream cheese, parsley, salt, pepper, and chicken broth. We're going to squish this together in the bag. We're going to get as much air as we can out, seal it, freeze it. When we go to make this one, we're going to thaw it, and then we're going to dump the entire contents of this bag into a stovetop pot or a very large skillet. You're going to bring it to a boil, and you're going to add your penne or other similar sized pasta right into this sauce. It's going to cook up right in there, which is going to give the pasta more flavor, but more importantly, it's going to save you from having to do extra dishes. If you want, you can top it with some red pepper flakes and Parmesan cheese, and you can have some garlic bread. We make garlic bread ahead and have it in the freezer all the time, so it's right ready to go into the oven. This is a really delicious one. Okay, so you know how I got all excited and I came in and I had the bags of chicken and I was like, oh, we're gonna make, and then we can make what we didn't, like we only made 2 of, but we were supposed to make 4 of, which was the chicken and sun-dried tomato pasta sauce. Well, not so much, because it turns out that in my overzealousness, I had already made one of the extra meals, which was that chicken fajita pasta that I was really excited about. And of course, in that I used all the extra peppers because I was like, we don't need these anymore. So then when I got all excited about having the chicken and I could make them, no, I could not. So I had to invent a lot of chicken recipes. And normally I could just invent like one or two and we could make multiples, but for a variety of reasons, I just made one of each. So the reason I only made one of the fajita chicken one is because I only had enough peppers to make one. The reason I only made one of the buffalo chicken one was that Christy was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling it. So, you know, you can just make that for you. Then I made one that has broccoli in it, and I'm allergic to broccoli, so I made that one just for Christy's house. And so then I still had one more bag left. So I really had to think, like, what am I gonna do with this? That one I am like the least confident about, and as a matter of fact, like, I called it weird skillet thing because it's weird. Anyway.
And it's our experience that if it has weird in the name, it's usually the last thing in the freezer that we finally pull out and begrudgingly cook up to see if it turned out, and sure enough, it's weird.
So I'm gonna tell you about that one first, and that was that when we were doing the sweet potatoes for another recipe, and my daughter was helping me with prep, I just told her, like, peeled and cubed sweet potatoes. I didn't say like giant cubes because they're going on a sheet pan meal. Then when I came in and I was like, oh, those are teeny tiny cubes. So the other ones she did in the larger cubes. But then I had this one sweet potato that was in teeny tiny cubes, and it was like all peeled and diced and the work was already done. So I decided, well, I can throw that in with the cooked chicken. I can make kind of a Cajun skillet. I thought maybe it would be good with green beans if I had some of those in the freezer, but I didn't, so I had asparagus in the freezer. So it just kind of goes like, it derails. So I'll tell you what I did. Into the bag, I had my chicken, then I added some sweet potato, garlic, a little bit of chicken broth, some salt and pepper, Cajun seasoning, and some of that frozen asparagus. When I make this, I'm gonna cook it up in a skillet. Like I said, I don't have high hopes. I don't think this is gonna be revolutionary. I don't think it's gonna make it in the club. It will feed us, it'll fill our bellies, and no ingredients went to waste. I have been wrong in the past though. Sometimes I've invented things that I thought were just gonna be so-so, and they were like, knocked it out of the park. So, we'll see. I'm reserving judgment. For the one pot chicken fajita pasta, we've got our chicken in the bag. Then we're gonna add in some fajita seasoning, or you could use taco seasoning, some sliced onion, some sliced red and yellow peppers, minced garlic, chicken broth, heavy cream, some diced tomatoes, and some diced green chilies. Now, I think I might, if this turns out to be really, really good, I might experiment with it again and throw some lime juice in there, because I'm just thinking, like, with fajita, like, I think that would be really good. Anyway, you could also put your cheese in a medium-sized bag and staple that on there. I had cheese. I could have done that. I was lazy. So this bag doesn't have cheese on it, but I'm gonna try it soon, and I know the cheese will still be good in my fridge, so I'm just gonna use it at that time. It's day 2 of the mega session.
It's day 2.
And
I have one left, and I have the seafood curry pasta, and I'm having a little chuckle here because it does call for mushrooms.
Which we used.
I didn't think I needed any more, so I used them all freely in my beef stroganoff, ground beef stroganoff.
Okay, I'm gonna let you in on something that Christy and I have been talking about behind the scenes, as we do. And we've said to you before that sometimes, like, we'll come up with something new and add it into our system, and it just improves our system, and we've tweaked it so much over the years. We used to take 3 days sometimes to assemble.
Oh yeah, we were slow.
And it was like we'd come up with 86 meals or something at the end of it, which is still an amazing number. Don't get me wrong. If you did 86 meals, like, I'm so proud of you and I'm cheering.
No, and we did this with little kids running around, and they were big days, right?
But we didn't have good systems in place, and like Christy was saying before, we would flit from like one protein to another and just kind of what we felt like working on. And we also had we didn't necessarily get all of our ingredients out first, and we did just those little tweaks that make a huge difference. So what we've been discussing today that we're gonna change for next time we do this is exactly this issue where when we do our prep, we know how many mushrooms and we slice them and everything, but it's not like we separate them into like this goes in this recipe, this goes in another recipe. So when we're assembling the meals, sometimes we're taking handfuls or sometimes we're even measuring it. But exactly with the mushrooms, when Christy was like, I don't think I need any more. Yeah, and I was like, I think this recipe and then the beef stroganoff is it for the mushrooms, so you can just be super heavy-handed with that.
Which we love, and we made a big joke about it, about all the mushrooms that we get to have in it.
Completely, and now here we are.
I need 4 recipes with 6 mushrooms sliced. I don't have a cup of mushrooms between the 4, let alone a cup for each, so these won't have mushrooms.
Now we can make a little note on the bag that says add mushrooms.
And where we were going with this is, we're thinking maybe like a post-it note on the top of the mushrooms where they're all sliced that says, these are needed for the beef, ground beef stroganoff, the seafood curry pasta, the whatever.
Or even simpler than that, I was thinking
1, 2, 3, 4.
Like this is needed for 4 recipes or 3 recipes or 7 recipes.
But we would have to like cross it out and then say, if it was 4, we'd cross it out and then say 3, cross it out and then say, and we don't always put the lid back on.
That's true, but we could put them over there.
We don't have to put the lid on. We don't have to put the sticker on the lid. We could have something up on the cupboard that says, just organization up front makes it so much better on the back end, right?
And so where some things are super organized, one thing that is never organized is we never know like exactly how many recipes are we going to need the sliced red peppers for. If we had that kind of a system in place, it would just save some mental space.
Right.
And we're all about saving mental space. That's the whole point of having
we have to tell them
meals.
about the onions.
Oh, okay. So, in the past, at the end of our mega meal or mega sessions, I'm going to put another mega session right up there in case after this one you just want to watch us make 156 meals, because this one is not going to be that many. It's still a lot, but anyway, we always end up with like a tub of onions left. Like, well, half a tub, but like a large amount of onions, and we're always like, what are we going to do with these onions?
And onion, I'm going to say up front, onion math is hard.
Yes.
Because onions are different sizes, and you can't always get like 50 medium onions. So we often measure, all our recipes say 1 onion, but we measure that as 1 cup. Because we have a bin to scoop.
And the system works, and if you look online or whatever, it'll tell you like a medium onion is about 1 cup when it's diced. So we have a system for a reason. However,
we do seem to always end up with more, and I think it's because we are conservative when we are doling it out, partly because we don't know how many need onions,
and because lately the onions have been massive.
They seem to be huge.
So Christy preps the onions, and I give her a list that says like this many diced, this many minced, this many sliced, or this many in large cubes or whatever. And weirdly enough, I usually do the purple onions, so I don't know why, but whatever. So this time when I did the list, I took some off because I was like,
we always end up with way too many onions.
So I'm like, well, you know what? I'll lower the amount of diced by just like a few onions, and I'll lower the amount of minced by just a few onions. So when I give Christy the list, whatever she makes, it'll probably be the exact right amount. We're going to end up with the right amount of onions. But Christy had the same thought and didn't know because I didn't communicate.
Well, and for the first time ever, I'm like, well, I'm not going to do all 20 onions of diced, which isn't actually all that unusual. I've done up to, 30 before of diced onions, just diced onions. And so I'm like, I had them all peeled and cut and ready to run through my chopper, right? And I'm looking at these and I'm like, those are some big ones there. 10 minced, I bet you I can do it in 8. It'll be fine. And because I need 8 cups, right?
12.
Right, I didn't know that. And so here I reduce it again. And then the same thing, there was 18 and we needed 20, which really was 24 probably. Right? And I only did 18. So we did actually run out of onions for probably the first time ever.
And it was just because, like, great minds think
totally.
alike.
We should have just talked about it.
So my mom actually helped us out here by chopping some onions. Christy did some onion math right here in the kitchen.
Yeah, I just
figured out.
I had 2 more recipes that needed onions, and even then we still had some left over. So Charlotte was able to use it in some of her imaginings here. And this is how much is left. And she said, that's going on nachos. Today is a nachos day. Don't touch the onions. She wasn't like that, but that's really what she wanted to say.
I wasn't mean like that, but yes. I'm going to have nachos when we're
Self-care nachos. Charlotte's self-care nachos.
Charlotte's self-care nachos. That's a good, you could just call it that. And it is before 3 o'clock, and we're wrapping
I have one
up
left
here
with half the ingredients, so it really won't take me long. Not half.
No, but you're missing the mushrooms. So
we probably have B-roll of this being made properly somewhere that we could use instead of the one I do today, so that you'll see mushrooms in it and see the real deal.
Yeah,
because
that's a good idea.
I'm not going to give mushrooms in it, and that's not fair to you. Like,
we'll show you the one with mushrooms.
We'll show you one with mushrooms. I'm sure we'll find one.
Yeah.
We've made this a million times. We love this one. These sheet pan teriyaki meatballs are a new recipe. I am excited about this, and we start out with our pre-cooked frozen meatballs. We get them from Costco. They are great. They're in our bags. We're going to add in frozen broccoli. Charlotte's not going to eat this. She's not going to eat the beef anyway, so she gets the beef and she gets the broccoli for her family. I will take the other one home. We're going to add in chunks of red pepper, chunks of yellow pepper, a splatter of olive oil, some salt and pepper, and then like a bottle of thick teriyaki sauce. Then that is it. Mix it around in the bag as best you could. This could actually be made in a bowl to mix it better if it mattered to you. Then you'd put it in the bag. That's an option for you always. In this case, we just did it in the bag. When we go to cook this, we're gonna dump it out on a sheet pan. We like to use parchment paper or foil sometimes. Makes cleanup a breeze. Cook it up, serve it with some rice or some rice noodles, and it's got the vegetables in it. This is super easy and super awesome.
Okay, for the buffalo chicken pasta, what I did is I had the chicken in the bag. I added some cream cheese, some Frank's Red Hot sauce. I like things spicy, so I added a little more than maybe I should have, but I'm happy about it. Some chicken broth, minced garlic, some mozzarella cheese that's shredded, and then I actually had to shred some cheddar cheese because, of course, we hadn't planned this recipe, and so I had not prepped enough cheddar cheese. So I added that in, and then some ranch dressing and blue cheese. I think this is gonna be amazing. I'm gonna add it into some cooked penne on the day I go to serve this, and I'm gonna bake it all together in the oven. I'm hoping that it works. So then we had all this chicken. And I couldn't make it into the thing that it was originally gonna be. Oh my goodness.
That needed mushrooms too, and they were long gone by then.
Right? Anyway, yes, it needed mushrooms, it needed so that's why the new system of tracking how many recipes for each of the prepped ingredients, like not for everything, not for the ground beef, not for the chicken, but for the vegetables. Okay, and not for the onions. We're not gonna, that's too much.
That's
to keep
everything.
track of.
Everything has onions.
So I had the chicken, and I was talking with Christy. I kind of wish the cameras had been on when we were talking.
Because it was kind of beautiful.
It was fun. We were going back, and I was like, I do have that cooked crumbled bacon left.
And I'm like, well, that's just begging for ranch seasoning.
Right? So then Christy went home to take her cooler and, empty it in her freezer, which is a whole other story, but we're gonna get to that. So then, by the time she got back, I had this to give her, which is chicken bacon ranch casserole. So I added into that bag, the chicken was already there, then I added the bacon, some broccoli from the freezer, ranch dressing. I did add a little bit of heavy cream because I didn't have as much ranch as I was hoping to, and I didn't want it to be dry for her. And then I added some mozza cheese, and I grated some more cheddar cheese and added that in there too. So this is something she can just dump into a casserole dish, bake it up, and I know their family likes broccoli, and who doesn't like chicken bacon? So
yeah, that's gonna be great.
I think it's gonna be good.
This is spicy arrabbiata sauce, and I was so excited to see it go by, mostly because I really like to say arrabbiata. So into our bag, we're going to add some diced onion and minced garlic. We're adding in San Marzano tomatoes, and as you can see, they are plum tomatoes that need to be broken up. We will do that at the end. We're adding in red wine, a little bit of tomato paste, sugar, chopped fresh basil, lemon juice, red pepper flakes, cayenne pepper. You can add more if you'd like it a little spicier, or a little less if you're not so hot. And Italian seasoning, pepper, and parsley. Seal up your bag and mix it around, and just use your hands to squish up the tomatoes in the bag and until they're a nice even consistency. Then you are going to put this in your freezer just like that. When you go to cook this, this is one where you're going to serve it on whatever pasta you want, but part of the instructions that are important are, once your pasta is done cooking, you want to reserve about a cup of that pasta water, and while you're heating up the arrabbiata sauce, when you add the spaghetti into that, or the sauce into the spaghetti, whichever way you want, you will maybe want a little bit of that pasta water to add in, and it just makes everything smoother and silkier, and it covers everything better. It's a really common thing to do. If you didn't know about it, I'm glad we could tell you about it.
We had 1 pound of ground beef left. That's it, because we did do really well with our prep this time. We didn't end up with a lot of leftover ingredients, and we had a lot of carrots.
A lot of carrots.
I don't know why. I think it's because we're trying to be conservative.
Well,
and
it's hard to know how much is 4 carrots, because 4 carrots, when they're this big and this big around, could be a cup, but 4 carrots when they're this big and this big around is half a carrot. It's 2 cups or whatever. So that's also hard.
But I do think it would have helped us if we had known how many recipes we needed carrots for.
We could have been more generous with the carrots.
Definitely would have been more generous. So I had a lot of carrots. So I'm like, this just begs for soup. Plus, I'm tired and soup is easy. So ground beef, carrots, peas, garlic, onions, Italian seasoning, pepper, a can of diced tomatoes, and beef broth. I should have added a bay leaf in there, but I forgot. So
I'm taking this one home because we eat the beef at our house, and I will add a bay leaf in there, and I might add some barley or something.
This would be a really good beef barley soup. Actually, I should have thought of that. But it's got everything else that you need in there, so it should be a really nice cold day soup.
Yeah, it'll be great. This is the seafood curry pasta. We've been making it for about 100 years now, and we enjoy it every time. Into a small freezer bag, we're going to add scallops and shrimp, and we're going to seal that up and set it aside. In the large bag, we're going to add thinly sliced onions, sliced mushrooms, sliced sun-dried tomatoes, some curry powder, pineapple juice, cream of mushroom soup, and some evaporated milk. We're going to mix that around in your bag, seal it up, staple the bags together, and freeze it. When you go to cook this, you're going to heat it up on the stove, and then you're going to add in the seafood once it's hot and bubbling. And then we love to serve it with penne. And in fact, we used to make this a full meal with the penne all in one and put it in the bag so it was just a reheat. It really isn't that much harder to cook the penne on the day of. So we have started to do that, plus it makes a thinner bag. And boy, it does have a lot of really interesting ingredients that you wouldn't expect, but they go so beautifully together. It's a really, really great one and you should try it.
I said we had a lot of carrots left. I mean, we had a lot of carrots left. And I could have thought of something more creative, but I just decided to go upstairs to my computer, go into the club, hit side dishes, and print off our maple dill carrots recipe. I don't have fresh dill, but other than that, I had everything I needed. So I've got 2 bags here. They'll be great for us to have side dishes to go with some of those chicken meals. So you've got your carrots in the bag. They're already peeled and sliced. That work's been done for you by past you. Then you're gonna add some olive oil, maple syrup, salt, pepper, and dill. In this case, we did not have fresh dill, so it's just dried dill. Give that a bit of a shake. Get your air out, seal it. You can cook these on the stovetop. You can cook these in the oven. Whatever way you cook them, your side dish is now done, your protein you pulled out of your freezer, and you have a complete meal. So the kitchen's a mess, but...
Not as bad as last night because we used so much stuff.
Yeah, we did. And it's not gonna take long at all to get this back to normal. And then for the next months,
3 months, easy.
Mess the kitchen very much because dinner is done. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to have the meals.
Oh, I'm beyond thrilled to have meals. And I don't, we've talked about what are we gonna have first? I don't know, because there are some really good new ones that we wanna try. Plus there's some really good old favorites.
True.
Yeah.
What you really came for is the number, right? So we are
Yes, everybody wants the number, but I'm just happy to tell you that we're done. I like the number 2 at the end.
So we have made 103 meals plus 2 side dishes.
Woo!
So, yay!
And that's kind of right on the money.
Yes.
You had you had 98 planned and you thought, well, we'll be 102, 104. You were really right on the money.
Yep.
She always is. And it was just great. This was a nice one.
We actually had a lot of fun.
We did.
And it's been, we haven't had any real disasters or,
I spilled the paprika and you forgot to press start on one of the videos, and otherwise it's been really good. And we used up our mushrooms too early.
Yeah.
minor things.
Very
this was
minor.
good. This was good.
We had a lot of fun. We visited. We danced a little.
It was dancing.
It was goofy. We got really goofy yesterday. We're going to show you our freezer, and then we're going to come back and give you some final thoughts. We're going to show you the freezer.
It's time.
It's the big reveal.
Da, 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 da. Oh, it's angels singing, but it was actually me and Charlotte pretending. But I'm so glad that you guys were here with us. Did you see that stack?
It's pretty awesome. If you want to know what it feels like not to have to worry about what's for dinner, not to have that, we call it 4 p.m. dinner dread. If you don't want to have that panicky feeling, then we invite you to check out the links below. You'll find recipes, you will find our free cheat sheet for what freezes well, what doesn't. You'll find the Freezer Meals 101 Club.
You will find the link for the live cooking class that you can join us and cook along with us.
All that you need to get started is right here. We're so glad that you were with us for this adventure.
It was an adventure, it always is. It always is.
And we're gonna let you know how some of the brand new to us recipes turned out. We are also already conceptualizing some new recipes to bring to you and try for next time. So hit that like and subscribe button if you want to be notified when our next video drops. And just Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. It was really great.
Happy cooking. Both of our families love butter chicken, and this is no exception. No. See, I can't think 5 seconds ahead. Oh my goodness. Take 5,000